My teacher is a sexy widow. The new teacher is like Medusa. A female teacher arrived at a high school. She entered one of the classes where the students were known to be stubborn and did not obey their teachers. Those who taught there would definitely not feel at home. "Good afternoon, children," said a middle-aged female teacher. However, none of the students heeded the teacher's words. They were more engrossed in their respective activities. Some are sitting on the table, some are looking for bugs, some are reading, some are playing on their cell phones, some are even smoking. "Could you please look here?" said the new teacher. Because the new teacher was furious, he threw one of the students who was smoking with a blackboard eraser. Brr! The eraser hit the head of one of the students who was smoking. He turned his head and glared at the teacher who threw the eraser at him. Immediately his eyes were amazed, didn't stop looking at the new teacher. They all fell silent and looked at the teacher. "Okay, I will introduce you to the new teacher next to me. Her name is Mrs. Melissa. She will teach and be your new homeroom teacher now." said the mother who had just paid, whose name was known as Mrs. Wati. All the students kept looking silently at Mrs. Melissa. All of them were fascinated by her beauty and the beauty of her body. Melissa nodded, smiling at Mrs. Wati. Mrs. Wati came out. Melissa stared sharply at all her students. "Wow, the teacher is really sexy and makes me feel at home studying at school," said one of the male students. "If it's like this, there won't be any mention of skipping school. The teacher is sexy and beautiful too," muttered one of the students. "So it looks like Queen Medusa in Donghua," muttered one of the students. Melissa walked towards her students who were still smoking from earlier. He took and stepped on the cigarette butt. "It's at school if you want to smoke, please come out," said Melissa, then walked over to her seat. "Who are you? Who dares to boss me around?" said the student whose cigarette had been thrown away earlier. Melissa stopped in her tracks and looked back. "Didn't you hear? I'm now your homeroom teacher here. If you don't want to be in this class, please leave," said Melissa with a sharp gaze. Yes, he was silent. Melissa sat at her table. "Well, for our first lesson today, I will introduce myself, and you will also introduce yourselves to me." No one answered. Everyone was silent. Melissa opened the absence list. Melissa calls her name random. Chaden Barnett, the one smoking earlier, is the quietest and coolest, but stubborn. Bobby Albert, Hendy Carlson, friendly, kind and caring boy. Cody Aina, still related to Chaden Barnard. Dafa Arya Gosan, Chinmayananda, Janardana, Paramayoga Yadavendra, Fatia Bernessa Clarine, Gabriela Dorelia Farika, Aprilia, Bilkis Humera Jandra Mahesya, Deni Alhamdi. All the students who were called raised their hands one by one. Silence returns. Melissa approached Caden's table, who was fast asleep. Brack! Melissa's voice hit the sleeping student's desk. Suddenly, Chaden was shocked. He opened his eyes and looked at Melissa, who was standing in front of him. His chest swelled forward. Chaden, if you want to sleep, go home. You don't need to come to my class, Melissa said firmly. Okay. Chaden came out carrying his bag. Okay, now I just have to introduce my name. My name is... Before Melissa had time to continue her words, Chaden came back in. Everyone in the class was surprised. Why did you come in again and say you wanted to go home? Cody said. Silence is none of your business, Chaden snapped, then sat back in the chair. Melissa smiled at Chaden. Good. Everyone has gathered. I'll repeat it again. My name is Melissa Azura. Now I am your homeroom teacher and will teach mathematics, explained Melissa. Okay, ma'am, everyone said simultaneously. One of the students raised his hand. Yes, if you have any questions, please, said Melissa, welcoming her. Look, ma'am, you're really beautiful. Where do you come from? Where do you live? Said one of the students who asked earlier. Melissa smiled and approached her student's table. What's your name? He asked. Hendy, ma'am, answered Hendy, grinning. Why do you want to ask about my house? Yes, maybe you can stop by, ma'am. Yes, as long as you answer the questions I will give you. Melissa walked over, took a marker and wrote algebraic multiplication and division numbers on the blackboard. Okay, now you can go ahead, Hendy, said Melissa, pointing at Hendy. Okay, ma'am, who's afraid? Hendy stood up and went to the blackboard. He answered all the questions given by. Ma'am, please check whether this is true or false, right? Hendy said arrogantly. Melissa corrected the answer given by Hendy, and sure enough, Hendy answered all the questions he gave correctly. Okay, that's right, everyone. Please sit down. Later, I'll tell you where I live. Hendy returned to his seat. Chaden looked indifferently at Melissa. CK. Questions like that are easy and I can even answer them, Chaden squeaked. Melissa, who heard it, smiled crookedly. Okay, if you can really answer the questions I gave you, you will be my favorite student, said Melissa. Okay. Chaden smiled crookedly. Cody, who heard Melissa's words and his cousin's new behavior, was surprised. He's not usually like this with other teachers. Why is he? Usually he doesn't want to know all the subjects, let alone mathematics, thought Cody. Melissa wrote the 5 most difficult questions. Chaden also came forward to answer this question. Chaden answered the questions deftly and skillfully. Please check everything. He handed the marker back to Melissa. Okay, your answer is correct. Please sit down. And now that you have become my favorite student, you have to attend every lesson I or another teacher has. If you obey all that, you will be my greatest disciple, challenged Melissa. Chaden smiled crookedly. CK, okay, we'll see later, he replied. Cring. The school bell rang, signaling it was time to go home. Okay, now it's time to go home. Get ready to pray and say goodbye. We do this activity every day when we go home, said Melissa. Everyone tidied up the books and put them in their bags. The line was prepared after praying according to their respective beliefs. One by one, the students shook hands to go home. You didn't forget, did you want to give me the address? No, I'll share it in the WhatsApp group later, said Melissa. She went to the teacher's room. Continued. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. That's enough for this story. I hope you enjoy it. That's enough, and thank you.